All right, in this module now we will implement certificate services in our network here and look at how this is done. And before we do that, let's tie together something from the previous module here. In the previous module we talked about you being concerned with I am who I say I am, and so we use a digital certificate to establish that identity. Well, another way to think of digital certificates is think of driver's licenses. How do you establish who you are when you go to do things like write checks or buy beer or something like that? You provide a certificate, and that certificate is issued by a third party. It contains your picture, your signature, other identifying information about you, and because it's from a third party, in the case of driver's license, it's from the DMV, then you, in this case, understand that, okay, or the clerk who you're trying to buy beer from understands that, okay, well, they wouldn't have issued you this certificate had you not been able to prove that you are who you say you are. So because both of us trust that third party, in this case the DMV, your driver's license is a valid certificate that proves that you are who you say you are. Now, in the computer world, the same concept applies. In the case where you're worried that I am who I say I am, I might get my certificate then from a trusted third party. So in this certificate information is information about who issued the certificate. And if it comes from a party like VeriSign or something like that, you say, well, okay, they wouldn't have issued the certificate without you providing proof of who you are, so the certificate is okay by me, or by you in this example. But now what if we take these things out of it here, these bodies out of it, and now we're just concerned with an environment where the server that I have has some sensitive data on it, and I don't want just anybody to be able to access that data. I only want people who have certificates issued to them to have access to this data. As part of the security of this data, only people with certificates to establish their identities can have access to this data. I'm not so concerned whether or not these guys trust that I'm going to be the certificate issuer, but I'm going to issue certificates out before I let people log on to the network or access data or access a website, those kinds of things. To make sure that this happens then, you can install certificate services component on your computer, and that in turn can issue these certificates to either users, to machines, or to applications throughout an enterprise. So to do this, to start this process, we'll need to add certificate services, which can be done through your control panel and then by choosing Add Remove Programs and Add Remove Windows Components. So now that we've launched this, we have the Windows Components wizard, we select Certificate Services, and a little warning about the name and domain membership may not be changed because we're binding the machine name to the certificate authority information stored in Active Directory. So that's fine. Next. And then you're going to select here what type of certificate authority you want to set up. Now when you set this up, if you set up the first CA in the enterprise, you're going to set up the root CA. You can build a hierarchy of certificate authorities throughout your network. And again, this should start typically with the enterprise root CA. Now, an enterprise subordinate CA must obtain a CA certificate for another CA in the enterprise. This type of CA, a subordinate CA, either enterprise or standalone, would in turn have a certificate issued by a third party. So if we're setting up a subordinate certificate and we are concerned whether or not these clients, the machines or applications, get a certificate that is in turn trusted, then we would get a certificate from a third party like VeriSign, and then we could install certificate services and then issue certificates for other entities throughout the enterprise. But if we're not concerned with proving who that the certificate services is who it says it is, which you might not if you're doing this, then you can just create either an enterprise root CA or a standalone root CA. When you do this, you will install, the CA will issue a certificate to itself, and this will be known as a self-signed certificate. So I'll just go ahead and set up a standalone root CA, the common name. I'll just give it a name for the certificate authority, and we're ready to go with certificate database settings. And then finally, you're given a warning that Internet Information Services will stop temporarily. And this is because I've chosen to implement the web component so that people can, or entities can, enroll their certificates from web pages. So this will finish up, and in the next module we'll look at how to configure and issue certificates.